Hello and welcome to episode 578 of the Awesome Comics Podcast, a place where the small press makes one hell of a big noise. My name is Vince Hunt, and joining me as always is the artist and creator of Vanguard, the epic webcomic everyone should be reading, Mr. Daniel Butcher.
Hello.
And he's devilish, not by the deed, but by his wonderful looks. Hello, Tony Esmond.
It's been very personal about my wonderful looks. It was the shirt a few weeks ago, which I was quite proud of.
Yeah.
The chocolate waterfall.
I need it does need a cut now. My chocolate waterfall.
But I always mean it. We always mean it.
Oh, it's very kind of you. I know we're very kind to each other's looks, aren't we? Yeah,
we are. And because we're the caring comic book podcast. Yeah. And no one will ever see like the stupid looks we give each other on camera because it's an audio show. And we've got a great one for you this week.
Talk about being a good egg. We had a proper chuckle with him before we started, and he's gonna wait till you hear this. It's brilliant.
You know, there's a lot of comic book chatter, and there is a lot of process and theory. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on because we were lucky enough to get a chance to talk to Brennan Wagner, artist, colorist, currently working on one of the pod's favourite books at the moment, and the last series was as well, wasn't it? Grendel, the Devil's Crucible.
Yeah.
I know my lovely
Grendel
co-host.
Prime.
Yeah, my lovely co-hosts exalted its virtues over and over, and now
We're going to tell our little Grendel backstories of how we found out about Grendel.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think, and I know I've put it in the title about, you know, because I think sometimes throughout this podcast and in the future, sometimes we'll do episodes focusing, and lucky enough, if we're lucky enough to talk to one of the creators as well, focusing on some of the icons of Indian and self-published creators, because they're the ones, that's the, you know, whether it be, you know, Grendel, Bone, Hellboy, you know, all of these major characters that are pillars in comics, not just pillars in independent comics. I think they go beyond that sometimes, and Grendel is one. It's one character that I think people will know the name, and people might not necessarily quite know what it is because it has been so many different things to so many different people, as we discussed.
Now's the time, because those omnibuses they've done are great to pick up.
Yeah,
really good.
And that's Dark Horse has put those out.
Yeah, it was. He was with Kamiko, then he went to Dark Horse, and I think he's pretty much stayed there. I think, if that's right. I know. I think it wasn't Mage out of Image though. I think.
Yeah, Mage was Image. I don't know whether has it all been with Image or certainly.
No, first series is Kamiko.
Yeah.
Kamiko.
Yeah. Kamiko's a weird company. We obviously like it for the Elementals and stuff, but I'm a big fan of Next Man and Ribbit and Mage and stuff. But I think they had big financial woes and there was a big fallout. So I think he's lucky to get out with the product.
So this is obviously great. You know, Matt Wagner created both Mage and Grendel, which have, you know, I mean, just one of those you'd be happy to put on your CV.
God,
have a look at some of his Shade stuff, some of his Batman stuff, his current Dracula. It's just incredible stuff. Kelly Jones at the moment, you know.
Sometimes when I've seen Matt Wagner's artwork, like, and it'll crop up sometimes like a Batman anthology or something like that, and there's a short story in there that's Matt Wagner, and normally it's the one I like the most. Do you know what I mean?
Me too. His Batman's one of my favourite. I've got the Batman statue, you know, the black and white statue.
Yeah.
I've got the Matt Wagner one. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And obviously, he created Grendel in 1983, I believe. That's what we're talking about.
Kamiko Primer number 2. Everyone go check their collections because I think it's worth about 400 quid.
Tell you that.
Yeah. But how can you distill something like Grendel into a simple phrase? Because we could say with a lot of other characters, a Hellboy, you could kind of in a paragraph tell you what that sort of character kind of is. You know, Bone, or, you know, you could possibly sort of say, oh, it's a story about this. It feels to me like Grendel is one of those beautiful anomalies where the comic itself is, I mean, what's the phrase about?
Yeah, I think he retroactively encapsulated it by saying it's a study in the nature of regression.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's how it started. I don't think in his mind. I mean, maybe he recognised that's what it was as he went along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is a good chance. But like you say, Vince, it started out as a horror pulp.
Yeah.
Then it became a sort of sci-fi, cool, fashion-led kind of epic. And then we've had things about children, we've had things about the future, we had things about the past. There's some really just turns of story that are just basic horror in moments.
Yeah.
And then things that are just like full-on adventure. Well, I
Yeah.
suppose that's how he keeps it fresh, how he keeps coming back to it, enjoys keep going back to it, because it can be as different as you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
I first came across it. There was an anthology in the UK, large size, called Total Carnage. Do you remember that?
Was it in there?
yeah.
Was it?
It was in Total
Okay.
Carnage. They started serializing Grendel Warchild in that.
Oh, right.
And like of all the comics in
Warchild
was just like,
is one
what
of the
the
ones
fuck? This was amazing.
Yeah.
Because Matt Wagner's work, the story, just everything about it was like,
That was right
this
for
is
the times
amazing.
as well, I think.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
God,
I mean,
it
you think
was
it was
so right for the
contemporary.
time.
Forgive me, who's the artist on Warchild
Is it
again?
the Panda Brothers in that one? Can't remember.
I've-
John K. Snyder did some around the time. Tim Sale was a bit after that.
I have to check.
Because
Yeah. I got a feeling someone like Glenn Fabry or someone did some of the covers, because Disraeli did an issue.
Glenn Fabry did, yeah.
Yeah, covers. Because Disraeli did an issue, a short story for I'm going to say, was it A1 or Trident or something? One of those anthology books. Because it's not always been Matt Wagner. I mean, there's a novel written by Greg Rucka on it. There's the odd time I think James Robinson might have written that.
I'll have to double check. Who does the art on this?
I've got Patrick McCohen and Ken Henderson are the pencilers on Grendel
Ooh, okay.
Warchild.
Right, okay.
I can't remember. Yeah.
Inca, Matt Wagner, and Monty Sheldon.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they're because that was like fucking amazing. And then I had trouble getting the trade, and I paid over the odd. You know when you do that, you put a book on eBay on the watch list. So anytime one's listed, it pops up.
Yeah.
And I managed to get one at like about 20 quid. And I thought, I've done all right there because they go for quite a lot more. And then they did a
Did
reprint.
they really?
like,
Because I've had one. I think fucking hell.
they did a reprint like a couple of months later. Like, so I could have got it for 15 quid.
Oh.
I can
That's the way.
thoroughly recommend the new volumes, though. They're great big
Yeah.
bricks that would kill you.
Yeah.
Talking about when we first saw it, I think I retroactively or went back and bought Kamiko Primer when I sort of got into it. But I think I saw Grendel when he'd had a very, very short-lived series that I think because of Kamiko money problems they'd cancelled, and they'd stuck the stories. This was back when it was almost like an illustrated text piece in at moments.
That's the Devil by the Deed is how I've experienced that. Yeah.
Yeah, and some of it was been redrawn. You may not have seen the original because some of it was properly redrawn by him for that volume you've got. But it was the backup in Mage for a while.
Right.
I think may have been maybe where I saw it. Yeah, but like it's always been one that I've always had, and it did go away for quite a while and then came back. But then again, so did Mage. Mage went away for 10 years at a time and came back.
And obviously, I do repeat. I'm going to repeat myself a little bit, so I won't say too much about my initial experience with Grendel. But once again, I think in terms of iconic looks, the Grendel mask is that's a mic drop moment, isn't it?
Yeah, I said it on the when we interviewed him. I got that on a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
It's fucking great.
Yeah. It's
When
so
you got
good.
that iconography going on, like echoing through the various versions of Grendel, it's such the straight touch point straight away. And then when you get stuff like the warriors in the future having like that tattooed on their face, it's like
Is
you're
that
Grendel.
the most
Yeah.
legacy of all the legacy characters? Do you think?
How do you mean, sort of?
Well, you know, you get these legacy characters where the mantle of the superhero or the character
That's
is
a good
passed from
point.
generation to generation.
I think in some ways it is because it's gone. Because the first story was set in the 80s, wasn't it? It was set in the 1980s, I believe.
Right.
Devil
Can't
by
remember.
the Deed. But it's gone beyond time, almost beyond time, hasn't it? It's gone through so many different
iterations.
Yeah, and
I think you could make a strong claim for it.
Yeah,
that the most legacy.
There's a good chance.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear from listeners if you think you can think of another one that could kind of match up to that. I know obviously the DC stuffs, but that's not a patch on fucking how many
Yeah.
But
iterations of Grendel.
Yeah.
But also, it's the fact that, being a Grendel, they're individuals as well. It's not like...
And it's not nailed on that there's this power that passes through. There's a moment in the Christine Spar story by the Panda Brothers with Matt Wagner writing where Argent says, "Oh, now she's a Grendel."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh, right, I wonder what he's..." And he's almost going there at that point. We've never seen that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, really interesting.
But it doesn't work like I'm going to put on...
It's not like the Excalibur controls them, or, it's not that sort of...
Or it's not the, I'm going to put on the cape and the cowl and I'm Batman, because everyone expects Batman to look a certain way, act a certain way. So it's just going to be someone with a different alter ego, but it's essentially it's Batman. Whereas Grendel's like, they're different people, they're different experiences, they're different... It feeds it differently, doesn't it? And it exploits...
there's a whole different mood to some of them. Some of them... There's one of them which is just a woman in a psychiatric hospital. And the blood on her sheets is the shape of the mask.
Yeah.
But she doesn't put a costume on.
Yeah.
Really haunting stuff like that.
Yeah. So, if you're a listener and, maybe this is the first time you've heard about Grendel, it is, and you're interested in independent comics, and especially self-published and independent comic characters. We've talked about this before, a character that lives beyond, you can do that with the different arcs and stuff. I think everyone should check out a Grendel, and some of them might not be for you, some of them will, because I think that's another thing going for it. So many different flavors. Like when I picked up War Child for the first time, I went from Devil by the D thinking that wasn't what I thought, and then you pick up War Child and you're like, my God, what is this? This is something completely different.
I think people thought the first series was a little dry because it had that sort of retro feel to it.
Yeah.
But then again, you can get the teams up with Batman for his prestige series.
There's
pretty
so
good.
many different,
and the Shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful
They're two
example.
characters that go together completely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And obviously the Wagner family are comics through and through. Brennan and
royalty.
Yeah. And so hopefully, obviously, we've just talked a little bit on our experiences with the character. Please let us know your experiences, listeners, because we know there's a lot of people out there who probably, some have a storied history, maybe some of them have only just skirted the edge of Grendel. Now is a great time to get stuck in as well, because the Devil's Crucible, I mean, I'll hold my hands up. The guys were shouting about it, and I didn't jump on it soon enough. And
it's like Bronx Warriors times 100. It's like the Road Warrior times 100. It's like that sort of strange.
It really fizzes and pops. A lot more than I thought it would. When I started, I was like, "Oh, this isn't wow." Once again, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, and it's just brilliant popcorn comics with a bit more to say than some popcorn comics. So,
design wise, beautiful.
Oh
as well.
God, and we get into all that and more with Brennan. So, I mean, we could talk for ages, but let's get to the interview,
yeah.
Okay, this week we're joined by a comic book artist and colourist who's worked on characters such as Superman, Batman, Hellboy, the Spirit, the Shadow, and even the likes of Sherlock Holmes. Currently, he's working on one of Indie Comics' greatest legacy characters, which is one of the reasons we want to talk about that so much, and more. That legacy is Grendel, and we're very pleased to be joined by Brennan Wagner. Welcome to the show.
Hi, man.
Hi, Brennan.
Hi, guys. Great to be here.
Good. Because we've been chatting for 10 minutes already. So
we've been chatting for 10 minutes. As always, the listeners know that there's loads of stuff on the cutting room floor. But we were sorting this out for like a few weeks, and then the timing of it lined up, because I know the Devil's Crucible was talked about quite a bit when the last arc came out on this show.
One of our books of the year, man. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And inadvertently, the Devil's Crucible Sedition has just launched. Issue 1 has just July the 15th, I believe it dropped. Isn't that the case? And so this is almost like the stars aligned perfectly.
It's like we wetted our own cracks. Pretty almost the standout line from the issue, other than "fanged and feckless motherfuckers" was my favourite line.
That line was great. So, I mean, we're going to talk a little bit about colouring process and stuff as we go on as well. But, like, You've obviously got quite the history with working on Grendel for quite some time. Anyway, but what's it been like working on this new arc for you?
You mean Sedition?
Yeah, Sedition. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've been working on Sedition since Defiant, and each of these arcs was slated to come out a lot closer together, but there was that big old diamond distributor debacle that put a lot of stuff on hold and sort of stretched out projects. Just for example, with Sedition here, it was supposed to come out monthly, but now I guess it's become an industry standard. It's going to be coming out every 6 weeks.
Oh, okay. Right.
And I've been told that that's a thing across the board now. Everyone's starting to do that.
Working towards that. Okay. Because this is the first of it's 4 issues, this one, and then we've got Necrotic and then Purgation. Is that right?
So it'll be 16 issues total. Can't remember how many pages that is. 320 something maybe.
Nice work.
Yeah.
And the each of the 4 arcs will get its little collected mini trade, but when it's all said and done, it'll be put into a big
nice.
And it'll likely have a whole bunch of bonus material to back, including all the variant covers and regular covers.
Which you've done one, haven't you? You're a variant cover.
I've done 2 now. And I was set to do the variant covers for issue 1 of each of the arcs, but things being as they are, there's not going to be variant covers on the next arcs.
Okay. Right. I was thinking because
we have a sweet batch of variants for this arc, though.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah. We've been chatting backwards and forwards on the WhatsApp group today about Grendel. And is Grendel older than you, Brennan?
Oh yeah.
Wow, that's quite a thing, isn't it?
Wow.
Work on something your dad created before he created you.
Yeah.
I'm 35 for reference.
Wow.
I'm gonna say Grendel.
I mean, obviously, Grendel has such a
1982 or something like
it's
that,
got such a lineage. But does that
83?
83.
Wow.
Okay.
I mean, it's got such a lineage and many characters and many faces with behind the mask, etc. But in some ways, does it feel like Grendel's almost part of
Always
the
been
family?
there.
Yeah, certainly. For me, I have a sister, and she didn't gravitate towards this world at all. So there's a little bit of, I'm sure, some genetic code being passed down, but a big part of this is just being interested in it. I had a lot of friends growing up who were interested in it as well. So we spent a lot of time in my father's studio. He used to work in town, but he had a studio built in the basement of their home when I was, I don't know, like 6 or 7 years old. So I got to see when that happened, he was working on Mage 2 and Trinity. So that was when he was doing those 2 books was my first foray into actually seeing somebody do this stuff. I think until that point, I just didn't think that anybody could do this, that it was like I just assumed a machine spat it out or something, So yeah, and then growing up, my father used to take me out of school even to go to conventions all the time. I would help him run his booth. Helps to have a little kid at your booth. When I went to college, I was dabbling in a number of different art forms. I like painting, I like sculpture, I like photography, I like all kinds of stuff. But ultimately, I knew the language of comic books at that point pretty instinctually. So I kind of fell into it. The coloring thing I really fell into. I never intended, I don't think anybody who gets into comics, starts off from an early age saying, I'm going to color them one day.
Yeah.
I get
I get that.
But I fell into that because I was getting into graphic design and Photoshop at the time in school, and I had been noticing some color work in comics that I wasn't too keen on, and I was like, I think I could do better than that. And I did a couple sample pieces and pages, and before you know it, I started landing gigs. The first one, as you mentioned up top, was a Sherlock Holmes book for Dynamite.
Nice. It's can I just rewind a little bit there? You talked about being a kid in your dad's studio when he was working on Mage. Firstly, love Mage. I had
That's one of your all-time, isn't
Tony's
it?
the
all
massive
timer
fan
for me.
of Mage,
I had All Magic is Green written on my fucking school book, man. Do you know what I mean? It's like I loved it so much. But I can only imagine that you're sitting there thinking, what does Dad do, sort of thing, and you look at it and you realise he's drawing himself, kind of. So you know, I can. It's a strange effect.
In that second book, my mom, my aunt, my other aunt, my uncle, like a lot of people, because the book is autobiographical in many ways, not in more ways, but so yeah, I got to see a lot of that. That was a good way to show that everyone kind of draws and writes what they know, what's familiar and what's around them, because that it's informed art that way.
Interesting, yeah. And they were done in such a sort of big space apart. It's not going to be the Mage cast, don't worry. But they were done, you know, almost in stages of his life. You know, he's because the last one he was an older, you know, it was almost contemporary with himself, I think, isn't it? Is that right?
In the latest one, I'm the character based on me, Hugo.
Right.
Is a little boy, right? So I'm 35 now. So
you'd have been in your 20s then, yeah.
Pop always says though he needs a little bit of distance from anything to work on it. So with Mage, he needed to like live that experience to then be able to look back and write on it. So
Wow.
And of course I got to color the third arc of Mage. Still, when I look back at that book, I think it's some of my best work. It's
loved it,
very
man.
personal for me, you know.
Really good.
And to go for like, in terms of like story sort of flavors, like Grendel's such a different, you know, to go from something kind of autobio to, you know, we're seeing the different flavors that we've had of Grendel over the years. You know, you go from Devil by the Deed to what we're getting with this, and it's, you know,
there's an overhanging compared to Mage. There's almost an overhanging, quite a nasty vibe. In a thrilling way, but there's a sort of more of a, I don't know, hard to put words into, it's more of a horror vibe, I guess.
Oh yeah, tone. One is the light and one's the dark for sure.
Well put. Yeah.
And I color them differently as a result. Grendel's all about the blood, baby. It's all about
I read the new issue and I was, as strange as it may sound, you're looking at pages and go, that's some lovely blood. You know, and it was one of those things that struck me, like the colours of it, you know, because this book is somewhat surprising, the fact that it's vibrant, you know, the blood colours are bright red, you know, but not to the point where it's ridiculous, but it still feels comic book blood. Do you know what I mean? It's still impactful.
Yeah, it's heightened, it's sort of caricatured, because, you know, if you read something like Hellboy, which all that stuff used to be colored by Dave Stewart, who, by the way, was kind of a mentor figure for me when I first got into this. Okay. He was coloring my father's work and Tim Sale's work, and I took over coloring both of them from Dave.
Wow.
Dave gave me a few tips and tricks when I was just getting going, and he most importantly gave me his digital brush set that I still use to this day, like 14 years later. So
wow,
you
couldn't get better than him. Was he like 10 times Eisner winner or something crazy like that? Isn't he? Yeah,
he's just crazy prolific. I think at the time I asked him, like, because I was having trouble producing like a lot of pages a day, and he said he does a minimum of 5 a day to keep up workload, which is crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm like 2, if that even.
But still, the 2 we get, because like one of there's a moment where someone gets shot in the head in the issue, and I remember just staring at. I mean, I love the design of that page anyway, the action that plays out on that. But I found myself just staring at that blood coming out of someone's head for a while. You know, it was, and there's something about the art and just the way that you put highlights on some bits of the colour as well, because some people just treat it flattened, but you know, there's dimension to your colouring, isn't there? rather than
I think if I went flatter, I could probably do more pages a day. But
Yes.
I'm a little bit too. I'm addicted to rendering. I need to shade stuff, highlight stuff. I'm a big fan of this sort of very anime like rendering style. You can see it in any like Miyazaki films where the backgrounds are like fully painted. They have lots of gradations and textures, and the foregrounded characters are just two-tone colors. They're
okay.
The one flat tone and then the shade. And for the most part, when I color stuff, that's kind of the look I'm going for. It's like an animated look. It really helps the figures and the subject matter in the foreground pop forward because it's a higher contrast than if you have gradations. I use kind of watercolory brushes to do the background to achieve that
awesome.
look.
Yeah.
Have you ever started a page on a new book and you've done it and it's like that page took me absolutely ages and I cannot do the rest of the book like this and gone back to sort of formula on it? I've certainly done it myself.
Yeah, so like early on, I found myself getting kind of fussy, like finicky with stuff and spending too long on certain bits, certain pages, certain panels. And I can't remember who told me this advice, but you really want to pick the pages that matter, and then on each page you need to pick one panel that matters the most. This is your focal point, this is your narrative impact moment, and spend more time on those moments because people, and I've really noticed this over the years. I've worked on so many books already, and every time I hand my book to somebody and they start reading it, they go over a panel like in 2 seconds that maybe I spent half a day on, So it's not worth it getting hung up in those little finicky details. You need to make bold choices with color.
Yeah.
The line art does like all the heavy lifting, really. I mean, the book reads in black and white. The color is just meant to like draw your gaze to certain narrative moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the early books, which I know you've gone back and recolored, are essentially only a couple of colors, aren't they?
Are you talking about the
Hunter Rose stuff?
Yeah, the Masters edition of Devil by the Deed.
Yeah, you went back and recolored that because I think there's some of your process pages in the back, aren't there? I think.
Well, more than recolored. The original Devil by the Deed was like 30 something odd pages, and our redo was like 130, right? So like,
nice.
Okay.
Significantly longer, different, all new art. Pop also managed to weave in some of the story details from other Hunter Rose stuff into it. So yeah, it's sort of an expansion, but it was meant to be a leaping off point for anyone who didn't know the material to couple with the release of the what will never be seen Netflix series.
Yes, I know. That's such a shame because some of it's. Yeah. I take it you've seen the first episode because it's finished, isn't it?
Oh, I've seen. We have the whole season on DVD. It's fucking great.
That's
the
worst thing you've ever said to me, Brennan.
Sorry, guys.
That's terrible, and even that's on the Wikipedia page. It says it there. It's such a shame.
There's some bits and pieces that still need. I think they were saying it's like another 10 mil to complete post-production on it. So like there's certain scenes where there's like a little caption at the bottom that says, fill in green screen here or enhance this here. So as you're watching it, you can literally read like, oh, this scene isn't totally finished, but it's edited all together like as if a final product, and you could easily sit and watch all that. I have. It's got the music. It's got.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And
it's
a crunch.
It's pretty great.
Because
I mean that's good to know anyway. Like an adaptation is always that's a frosty lake, isn't it? That could go either way, especially with such a textured sort of series like Grendel. So many people could get that wrong. Get that completely wrong.
Yeah, and there's some differences, some adaptations. They placed it in the 90s instead of the 80s.
Yeah.
There's some differences with the characters and their interactions. Argent is just a man.
Oh,
He's just
okay.
Okay.
Right.
So a detective. So yeah, there's some differences. Yeah, unfortunately, no one will ever see it, which is a bummer. But
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
bummer.
Yeah, well, something like Lock and Key had two pilots. You know, they went to a second pilot and then went to a series with it. You know, there's a chance there still, I think, because you got close with Mage as well, didn't you? I think.
Mage has seen a number of script adaptations. Yeah. At one point, Zack Snyder was going to do it,
Oh, okay.
and then he did 300 instead.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh wow!
Right.
Around that time. Wow.
Yep. Hmm.
Because I know the action figure appears in, I'm going to say a Kevin Smith film, doesn't it? In the background, I think.
Almost every Kevin Smith film has like Grendel
right.
in the background. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, yeah.
That is ace.
Yeah.
Go back to the Hunter Rose story. We've been swapping images as we've been reading it today, and there's one that really stands out. Is almost like he's standing on the side of a building, make a proclamation to the buildings around him, and it's all just sort of light in the windows. And I was looking at it earlier, and I'm thinking you've shaded some of the windows red and some of them white, and it's so beautiful, man. That's one of my favorite panels. Yeah,
Oh,
so amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, that was super fun to work on. Limited palette stuff's always fun to work on. We have we have something cool, just a single issue length story coming out soon. Pop and I in the latest. I don't know if anyone here is a fan of Last Podcast on the Left. They're a horror comedy podcast, extremly popular.
Right.
Oh, okay.
We've
Sounds
worked
like
with
your
them.
cup of tea, Vince.
Yeah, and they put out comics. They put out anthology graphic novels called Last Comic Book on the Left, and we've gotten to work with them a few times. We did the cover for their third volume. I actually wrote, drew, painted, and lettered a 6-page story in the third volume as well.
Nice.
Like a werewolf thing with like government testing. Super fun to work on.
Awesome.
But in the newest volume, we have a story that we worked with Marcus Parks, who is the main head writer on Last Podcast on the Left. And it is a story about the sort of sad and tragic, short-lived experience of Sid and Nancy Spungen of the Sex Pistols.
Oh, right.
Oh,
Interesting.
wow.
I met Alex Cox last summer for a drink.
Oh, yeah?
And yeah, he's an interesting fella. Yeah. Okay. That is interesting.
So the reason I'm bringing that up is because for that one, I used a very similarly limited palette, just like the Grendel stuff, but instead of gray tones with red, it's kind of olivey gray tones with like an intense pink and yellow, very like punk rock.
Very Never Mind the Bollocks cover as well, I guess.
Yes,
Yeah. Oh, nice.
How do you find working like that? Is it with that more structured? Is it easier to kind of get going on the work as opposed to having to consider too much, and you don't have to think so much, it's more doing?
Yeah. That work went faster for sure.
Yeah.
And same with the Hunter Rose stuff, that goes faster. I still do a decent amount of rendering on the Hunter Rose stuff, even when it's black, white, and red. If I were to show you the before and after of the scanned piece of art that I get, and then the final, there's a lot of rendering still going on in the background. There's a lot of rendering going on in the characters, sculpting, as we call it. But I'm still using like textured brushes. On Devil by the Deed Masters Edition, you can see all kinds of like textured gradations in the background. Lots of rendering still, even though I'm using a limited palette, extremely limited palette. But the limited palette does take out the sort of, the guesswork of starting a scene. I generally work in like scenes. So like when I start a scene, let's say it's 4 pages, and any scene can be any number of pages. Sometimes I'm working on an issue and the whole issue is one scene. So that's easy enough because I establish the palette and then I apply it through the whole thing. But with something like Sedition, the scenes are generally like 5 to 10 pages a scene. So the first page of said scene there's always a little bit of extra time spent because I'm having to develop a new palette to fit the scene. But then I can just kind of apply it to the rest of the scene. So then it starts to go a little fast.
totally get it, because there's books I've read that they've transitioned between spaces, even times, and there's very little change in like color, temperature, or anything, and it takes you a second to sort of realize, oh, hold on, this is at a different place at a different time, but the way it's colored is none of that's been taken into consideration. I feel like maybe some readers don't necessarily clock that until like yourself, you point it out. So what would the kind of philosophy be for when you're kind of going into a new scene, and how would you uh, go about coloring it?
So that's interesting you brought that up because yeah, when I first got into coloring, I was reading a lot of books, like I mentioned earlier, that I was confused as a result of the coloring,
Yeah.
where I am and when I am
Mm.
in the story. So nowadays, I didn't always used to do this, but nowadays, when I start a fresh issue, whether it's with my dad or someone else, I immediately we get on the horn and talk about the time of day for each scene. It's just so important,
Okay.
especially if it's outdoor. I've
Yeah.
colored in the past before I did this. I've colored whole scenes at daytime, thinking the little circle in the sky was a sun. It was supposed to be a moon. It was supposed to be at nighttime.
Ah,
There's no quick fix for this. You can't just like throw a filter on and it's suddenly
no.
like nighttime rendering. Light hits things, objects in different ways when there's full light versus side light versus, you know, dusk or moonlight. So it's really important right off the bat to establish like when is this happening and where is it happening. Generally picking a light source. I try to pick two light sources that are different in their tone, either a warm or a cool, or like a green and a pink or something.
Yeah.
Because then you can have your main light source that is the one color, let's call it the green, and then your bounced light can be the pink. That's your secondary light source.
Yeah.
It's a really easy way to define figures in the foreground. You give them their main light, and then you give them a little bounce light, like on
Wow.
the upper side
Okay.
of the shadows.
Yeah.
I used to do that one main source all the time, and then as soon as like I saw the other people doing like a kind of rim lighting on the other side, it's
Yeah.
like a kind of light bulb moment.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God,
Yeah.
character's actually got a bit of form now.
And it's like the coloring, much like some other parts of like comics, you know, when it's done so well, sometimes it goes unnoticed because it's just
Absolutely.
so,
And it's
so
part
well
of the
done.
storytelling as well. What
Yeah.
you're saying there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And there's one of the scenes towards the end of this new issue is a campfire scene, and I just sat looking at it thinking I just love the subtle nature of the like, and now you're talking about it, there's the cool colours of the night background, and yet the warmth of the face is not overpowering. Some people would probably like sometimes they do it so much it looks like someone's in a fire, let alone near a fire. But it's just the way that the shadows pop as well. I mean, I also look at this and I just think you must get just black and white, crisp, lovely black and white lines, but the shadows that are on those faces is all you, isn't it? For the
You know,
most
you
part.
can read the line art, and I do my best to read the line art to determine where the artist intended the light source to be, but it's not always super obvious. So sometimes in those instances, you have to make an executive decision, decide,
Mm.
okay, the light source is it's going to hit him from the side in this scene.
Yeah. Because do you get
With
do you get
that
script?
scene,
Do you get script alongside, or
I
do you
do
just
get
get
a
the pages?
script. I do get the script. Reading the script is extremely important, and I would recommend to anyone out there who starts coloring comics, like read the script. I read the script all the way through, right off the bat, looking at the black and white art as I go along, and then every time I hit a page while I'm coloring, I have the script open as well, just to refresh myself. The script, you know, reading the script and knowing what is being said, whether it's like words or caption boxes, is extremely important to point where the focal point is in the art, which makes the coloring job easier,
Okay.
because when you know what to focus on, everything else kind of bleeds away. And you know, this moment, this thing, this figure, whatever is the moment of impact here. Everything else can be a little bit in the background, a little bit recessed, doesn't have to be focused on as much.
Yeah. Interesting.
When
Is
it comes to
Sorry, Dan, go on, mate.
No, when it comes to coloring work, do you kind of prefer to do stuff where the artist has done like heavy spot blacks, or one where it's very kind of like just outlines and it's kind of left more to the colorist to define where shadows and light sources are?
I've worked with a bunch of different artists over the years, and what's fun about working with different artists is different styles, is learning how to apply the color. Pretty much with every line artist, before I start, if there are new line artists that I haven't worked with before I start coloring them, I look at how they color themselves.
Okay. Yeah.
That's pretty important. I think
That
any
makes
line
sense.
artist, when they hire a colorist, wants the colorist to sort of get in their head and be able to do what they would do.
Yeah.
I try to do that and then some if I can.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just signed on to a new project with Christopher Mitten, who I've worked with before. Chris is phenomenal. That's who I worked with on Hellboy. And I worked with him on an Animal Man short for DC. Chris's line art looks completely different than, say, my father's or Dan Scotty's. I've worked with Dan a few times on The Spirit, and then Dan and I also did a series for Dark Horse called Lavender Jack. Or sorry, that's St. John. St. John was our series. Yeah. And that one I co-wrote as well. Dan's art looks completely different than my dad's art. All those guys look very different than Tim Sale, who I worked with for a while. So when approaching any of those guys, again, like I look at their stuff, and I try to adapt. When I color Dan's work, I stay really flat. And in recent years, when I color Dan's work, I don't use watercolory brushes in the background. I don't use textures. I keep everything really flat, really graphic. When I worked on Tim Sale's work, Tim does a lot of this ink wash work, because I don't know if anyone knows this, but Tim, rest in peace, was colorblind. So,
I didn't know that. Okay.
No, me neither.
Yeah.
So that's why he pretty much exclusively worked in black and white. And his watercolor stuff, or his ink wash stuff, had that watercolory look to it. So when I would color his work, actually when I colored Tim's work, I was using a brush I got from Dave Stewart, literally titled Tim Sale watercolor brush.
It's a cheat code there. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the things. That was one of the things I was going to ask you about, Brennan. Is did you do the Panda Brothers? Did you recolor their stuff?
No.
Oh, okay. Right. I wondered about that because that's very different. Again, all of
coloring
the
old stuff is not really something I am going to readily sign up for anymore.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Because the Panda Brothers is because that's the thing about Grendel. It's all different. You know, every era is, you've got this sort of pulp thing. You've got the Panda Brothers was sort of almost like 80s, 90s fashion. And then you go all the way through to some sort of Italian exploitation, Mad Max kind of type scenario. And they're all so different, aren't they? It's just a completely different approach. War Child.
Yeah, when I was young and I first read Grendel, it kind of blew my mind. I mean, I think I read through all of Grendel when I was like 12 or 13, and
wow,
I was too young to really understand all of it. But what struck me at the time was just how different it was. At the time I was reading like The Walking Dead and stuff like that, which looks the same from beginning to end. Yeah. And to read Grendel all the way through is most people who read comics now, they can't quite grasp how unique that is. That not just the artist changes all the time, but the storytelling changes and the themes and the subject matter changes, the timeline changes. It's just it stays fresh all through its whole run. So Grendel was definitely pretty formative for me.
And me, man.
And
it's
certainly like when it comes to indie or self-published comics, it's an absolute. It's a legacy book. It's an iconic book that's now it's still going, big guns. Do you know what I mean? It's still going. There's no sort of like, right, I think we're done now. It's like there's something more. There's more coming. Do you know what I mean? It's just, and it's like you say, it's that the creativity in it. Because I remember way back in the day when I picked up from a comic book store like the really old Devil by the Deed, like, you know, slightly oversized sort of book.
Yeah.
And of course, at that time, I'd read Wizard, and you see the image of Grendel is one of the iconic, comic book images. Full stop. That mask.
I've just got those white eyes on a t-shirt downstairs.
Yeah.
So
I think, So I'm like, I need to see what this is. And when you see Devil by the Deed, it is not what you think it's. You know, you go in and you're like, whoa. And then I think a few years later, I picked up a War Child, and it's like, what? You know, you suddenly realise what's going on here. You know, there's something. It's not just, okay, here's the template, and we're just going to do that. We're going to photocopy that throughout the years, and seeing some of the artists that have been on it, and seeing that, you know, the stories and how it's changed. It's an inspiring and creative. It's one of the most creative characters on the comic book scene, I think. Because it reinvents but stays true, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I do love that byline of becomes a study in the nature of aggression. I just love that there's that single constant. I mean, there's allusions to the fact that it's passed down, and maybe it's a spirit, you know, but that thing about aggression holds it for me on everyone.
Yeah.
No one's super good, are they?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that, like, there is the main theme there is aggression, power, manipulative power,
and it goes to dark places.
And like
the stories go dark, don't they? Yeah, there's a lot of darkness within any of the stories, isn't there? It's not afraid to go there.
Yeah,
I think.
Very gory.
Which is why
I love working on Grendel for the gore. The gore is so much.
Yeah.
There's a transgressive nature. I can't wait to see where it's going, because we've hit the second series and we've already got 2 Grendels from different eras next to each other. I don't want to spoil anything, but you know, they're standing there next to each other, and it's brilliant. 2 of my favourite ones as well.
Where it goes from here, I don't think you could predict either.
Really? Okay.
I mean that's true to the nature of the character, though, isn't it? Like, I think it's one of those ones that you won't be able to predict where it's going to go or what's going to happen next.
We've still got 2 more miniseries after this one to go.
Yeah. Catch up now, people. But in terms of, like, colouring, here's something I want to ask, because it's always fascinating. What do you love to colour? And I'm sure you enjoy colouring everything, but there's certain things that you love to colour, and what makes you think, oh God, I've got to do. Just say a crowd scene at Times Square. If someone gave you a page like that, what would you immediately think?
Crowd scenes, yes. I'm not the biggest fan of rendering buildings, like geometric shapes. I kind of prefer organic stuff, like a mountain or a forest backdrop, stuff like that. I spend a lot of time in nature myself. Like on the weekend, I'm pretty much always flinging myself out into the woods to go fly fishing. So I love getting out, and that stuff informs. The best art is informed art. So, you know, I think I'm probably not as good at doing buildings because I don't look at buildings that often. I've lived in cities. I lived in New York, and I lived in downtown Portland for a while. But I spend most of my time when I'm not looking at a screen in the woods, on the beach, on the river, on a lake. So I definitely tend towards that stuff. As far as like what I love to color the most, covers, man. Covers are like, you know, interior pages simply take longer and they pay less than a cover. So I kind of prefer single imagery when it comes to rendering stuff. I can spend a little more time on it. Don't have to divide, you know, the worst page that a colorist can get is like 10 panels, tons of figures. That's the worst.
Yeah.
It's just so much work to do unless you're coloring it very flat. And there are colorists out there who do that really well. I really like Rico Renzi. He's fucking awesome at it. Guys whose brains work like that, like, fucking awesome for them. Mine doesn't. I get too obsessed with like shading and highlighting stuff. So covers in general, and I really like graphic covers as opposed to like a cover that is a scene. I like the covers that are a hodgepodge of imagery that is laid out in sort of a classic poster way. I love poster art. Growing up, I was
like the sort of Drew Struzan sort of compositions that we got like that.
Man, yeah, nailing it there. Yeah, Struzan was a big influence on me. Any of the Art Nouveau stuff, Alphonse Mucha, Leyendecker, you know, I'm a big fan of NC Wyeth.
Yeah.
So
do you think that's a generational thing? Because we used to do a thing where we picked covers for the weeks, and Vince and mine used to be a lot more graphic-y, whereas yours, Tony, used to be a more kind of...
They'd have to have a word balloon on the cover for me. Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I think it's
yeah.
I think these guys, because these guys are graphic designers and I'm not. I'm an idiot. So I just used to like the thing that looked like a comic panel on a cover, you know.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm about 10 years older than them, so I guess that's maybe part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, growing up, I did a lot of graphic design and exploring different kind of art forms. And when you're doing a lot of that kind of stuff, photography, painting, you just you get really into composition, flow, you know, rule of thirds, framing, all this kind of stuff. And so when it comes to coloring stuff these days, covers are my favorite. My favorite thing to do is to draw and paint my own covers.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing. If you guys want, when we're done here, I can send you the short story I was talking about earlier. The werewolf.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
Oh,
mate.
yeah,
that'd be amazing.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
That's a great opportunity for you to see what it looks like when I write, draw, paint, and letter an entire story myself.
We do have a Substack. Would it be possible to show on that? Would this be for...
Sure,
Oh,
page of it.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you're like the classic one-man self-published person yourself, how does that feel? Because obviously when you're a colorist, you know, it's that more. I mean, it's work for hire. It's a job. It's, you're part of the great machine that is comics. But when you're doing all of it yourself, how does that feel? You know, emotionally.
And do you want more of it? Yeah.
Well, even that story was again, it's in an anthology book. I was given a list of subject matter that I could choose from because, again, it was for the last podcast and the Left guys who they mostly cover macabre material, right? True crime, cryptids, that kind of stuff. So the one that I chose was the experiments done at Edgewood. If anyone's familiar with MK Ultra, it's very much like MK Ultra, but on an even bigger scale. In Maryland, there was a testing facility where the government tested just tons of gnarly chemicals on soldiers and volunteers. 6,000 plus people got, loaded up with all kinds of hallucinogens and bleach and terrible chemicals.
We've got a couple of friends. We've got a couple of friends in Maryland, so that explains them in all of them.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
A lot of things are suddenly clicking into place around those people.
So I basically took that subject matter and I just inserted a werewolf into it.
Oh, nice.
You had me at werewolf. That's one of my favourite things.
Vince loves werewolves.
I love werewolves.
Vampires, werewolves. Obviously, if you guys are familiar with my father's work, you know that he's absolutely obsessed with vampires and particularly Dracula.
Yeah.
At the moment, definitely. That's going really well, yeah. Argent as well, essentially, it's kind of a werewolf character, isn't he, I suppose?
He's a werewolf, yeah.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah. Just a slightly more handsome one, I guess.
Yeah. There was something you said about obviously living in Portland and going out and being amongst trees and stuff. I think to get your take on it, but also sort of state that's very important for colorists is light and knowing the relationship with lighting. And there's probably a lot of people out there, and making comics, or they live exclusively in a city. I know it's difficult. I'm lucky that I can go out and I can literally touch grass. It won't take me long to be amongst woods and stuff. But I think people do need to go out and see and explore more and see that the way, because I've been out in woodland walks and I've stopped for moments when the sun comes through the trees at a certain point and it's just stopped me because the way that the light and I'm just focusing on it and seeing how light bounces off things. How important is that for you? Do you sometimes take reference photos, or do you just take it all in and trying to memorize it all when you're out?
I don't. Well, I do take a lot of photos when I'm out and about in nature and stuff. So if I ever need to, but I can look at my phone roll. But I actually have on my computer, I have a like an inspiration / palette folder that is just filled. It's pretty much all comic art and like old impressionist art. I'm big on the impressionist painters, but just like it's just filled with stuff. And if I ever get held up on a page or a moment and I don't know what to do, I'll just scroll through that thing and find something as a starting off point. You know, it never be afraid to borrow. But yeah, it's important to get out and more on the conversation there about light and color. So a lot of people don't realize that color is light. It's light bouncing off and bouncing through things. A big light bulb moment for me when I was kind of midway through coloring my career up to this point. So maybe, I don't know, maybe 8-10 years ago. I started to understand that skin is light bouncing off and bouncing through, coming through skin. So this is why things like your ears appear red. That's the blood vessels picking up light. It's literally light passing through your ears, your nose. So like understanding that light is something that bounces and affects everything around it is really important for color. Understanding that light actually passes through a lot of objects is really important as well for color. Because it's pretty easy to just, paint everything what we call in local color, grass green, sky blue, skin peach. But really like unlocking sort of a deeper color theory is understanding the way that light and color bounce and affect each other in any scene, any moment.
So if like a colorist wanted to take it to the next level, would have to be looking at those kind of more advanced color theories and not just do the local color thing like grass is green, etc. How would you advise people to kind of do that, Brennan? Like through
look back. Like that's what I was saying. The impressionist painters. Yeah. There's plenty of material now, but like you will learn so much more looking at old painters from the turn of the century than you will reading comic books now.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's good to absorb it all, but for anyone who's trying to learn how to color comics by just looking at comics, you're missing like a bunch of pieces of the puzzle. You
got to push it on as well. Yeah.
Same with virtually every discipline in comics, right? You can't just write comics by reading comics. You need to kind of
experience life, read literature.
You talk to creators, and all of a sudden they'll start naming artists, writers, novelists that a lot of people haven't heard of. Because you think, but you work in comics, surely you only know comic people. It's like, no, you have to experience all of it. I mean, and like go to an art gallery. Art galleries are amazing for it, aren't they?
Yeah. Definitely visit lots of galleries, definitely get out in the world, and definitely explore all kinds of art forms. I was going to say, both my dad and I, we actually don't read that many comic books. If I spend my whole day working on comics, at the end of the day, I don't really want to read comics.
We hear that a lot, man. Yeah, we hear that a lot from a lot of professionals. Yeah.
I read a lot of books and I do a lot of audiobooks. I'm big on audiobooks. For the last 2 years or so, I've been absolutely obsessed with horror books. So I could recommend so many. My dad too was obsessed with horror books. So, and there's
just give me one, because I've got a blank slate in my audiobooks at the moment. I need something to read.
Oh wow. Okay. All right. This last year, this book was on Obama's recommended reading list.
All right.
It's called The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones.
I've downloaded that on Audible and I haven't started it yet. Is it good?
There you go.
It like absolutely incredible work of fiction. Not just an incredible horror fiction, but an incredible historical horror. Yeah. Just an amazing deep dive into Native people and.
It's a vampire tale as well, isn't it? Is it?
It's about a Native American vampire.
Okay.
Oh wow. Yeah.
It's set in 1912, and it's told epistolary like Dracula, so it's all in the form of these like written letters and journal entries. But oh my God, just the scope and the creativity and the characters, the language is so interesting. That's Stephen Graham Jones. He does a lot of Native American horror stuff.
Oh wow.
His other incredible book. He's got a lot of incredible books. I read a couple of his, but the other one that was pretty talked about was called the Only Good Indians.
I'll have a
Also
look.
a very cool horror book.
I'm writing that down.
Yeah. A friend of mine,
about Frank, the Frank Miller book, weren't you, T?
Yeah, that's so well written, man. It was such a lovely book to read. Was he somebody you met growing up, Frank Miller, Brennan, at all? Or
I met him, I want to say 2 or 3 times, because my aunt was his editor.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Diana Schutz. Diana is how my parents met. She's my mom's sister, and she was my father's editor at the time.
Yeah.
She's the
and a
reason
character in Mage as well. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. She plays the witch Iris. Yeah. So that's her Iris.
Can't remember. Yeah.
But she's the reason I exist, and she was Frank's editor for a while, and I actually have a little Batman sketch from Frank in one of my little sketchbooks.
Nice.
As a result of her.
His book, we were talking about it last week. His book is probably one of the best written books I've read all year, and I tend to read that sort of literary level, area. But yeah, so well written, man. It reads like the Great American Novel in parts. I would be. Our friend Dan Charnley will not forgive me if we're talking horror books and I don't mention Guy N. Smith. Have you read any of his books?
No, I don't think so.
He did Night of the Crabs.
Oh God, I knew you were going to bring the Crabs book up.
Go find it. We like a lot of trashy books, Brennan. It's a good, trashy horror.
Pretty trashy books.
Yeah.
The fucking crab books. Fun.
It's a Blood Moon of the Crabs.
Sometimes you just got to love a schlocky.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's what you need.
I like some pulpy horrors. A lot of the horror I'm reading these days, though, is very literate. Another one that I recently read was called Between Two Fires. It's kind of having a resurgence. I want to say it was written like 15 years ago or so, but it's having a bit of a resurgence right now. It's set during the plague, and it's very it's like biblical horror. There's like literal demons and angels fighting and stuff, but like it's getting a lot of it's talked about quite a bit right now, and it was, oh my God, incredible characters. It made me weep at the end. It was so good.
Yeah, it's amazing when you read about these great writers that they actually were into comics. Orwell wrote a brilliant essay on British comics at one point. George
Really?
Orwell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
If you listen to Martin Amis when he's on Desert Island Discs, he talked about reading war comics growing up as a kid and that influencing him. A lot of these people, because comics were so everywhere at the time, a lot of great writers are influenced by them, I think. It gives you that visual image, that you can then write things sometimes.
You need to indulge in all this stuff, right? Like,
absolutely, yeah.
You need to listen to music, you need to watch movies, you need to, it's all storytelling, and it's all going to help influence you.
Yeah. And life, Brennan, I think. And you need to experience life as an important aspect.
Get out in the trees.
Exactly.
Yeah, because if you pay attention to social media or online, it seems like everything's short attention span and
homogenous,
and everything's terrible. And I know sometimes everything does seem terrible, but then you come across a great piece of fiction, or you come across a great place to go and visit, and all of a sudden it'll rejuvenate you somewhat. Won't it? Just be like, oh yeah, there is hope.
I think it's that,
even though this book's about the plague.
If you sort of you're interacting with stuff through the screen all the time, you're going for a filter of someone else. You want to get out, go and see the artwork for yourself, or get out in nature or anything. Live the life.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to get in car chases with drug dealers and shootouts and stuff, but
that's what I've been doing.
Maybe go out at night in the city just to see what the nightlife's like or something.
Walk the streets. Can I just sort of change slight tack here? That this has been absolutely brilliant, Brennan. It's probably the best conversation I've ever had about colouring. So thank you so much. But I also sense that you're a bit of a perfectionist in the way we're talking here. Do you find that you have to get to a certain point and think, I've got to do 2 pages today. I need to move on. Do you get to the point where you think I could noodle here, I could shade here,
Yeah.
I could change this a bit more?
Or do you have a cut-off point? Do you give yourself...
redo? Yeah. There's a famous artist who works in 2000 AD, and he literally would put a stopwatch on, and if it got to the end of it, he'd move on to the next page. He was that sort of disciplined, which I don't expect you to be. But do you have a point where you think, right, I got to stop? I've been doing this too long. I'm going in circles.
Yeah, I talked earlier in the podcast here about getting fussy with stuff.
Yeah.
Rendering. Being too zoomed in. If you're working on a computer, you got to zoom out like pretty frequently to just like recognize like, oh, this is actually good enough. Time to move on.
Yeah.
I don't currently have any harsh deadlines, but in the past I have had pretty harsh deadlines, like working on 2 or even 3 issues a month. When you're under deadlines like that, you're forced to move on, and sometimes it can create some really brilliant moments. I've had a lot of light bulb moments as a result of deadlines, as a result of having to move it along, and they teach you how to render quick, not just more quickly, but smarter.
Okay. Yeah.
Leaving stuff unrendered, or kind of leaving stuff all in one ground as opposed to separating. So deadlines, deadlines, especially when you're first starting out, they're extremely important.
When you were talking about it earlier, about some people might only look at a panel for 2 seconds, and you spent a couple of days on it.
Yeah, especially people who don't like really read comics or like read a lot of comics. Friends that I have or family members that I have who aren't really into comics, but they're willing to like crack open a book I give them or something. They don't like stare at the art like a painting. Yeah. They don't look at it as if it's some like framed piece on the wall. They just move along. Yeah. So it's important to remind yourself of that when you're working on this stuff,
especially when they're like action heavy as well. We've had many during our recommends. We've said it's a really quick read. You know what I mean? Because it is, the action's just pushing you forward. And I always try to, it doesn't always happen, but if it's a quick read, I try to go back and then go back and
feel the momentum of the story, and then go back and have a dwell on the images. Yeah.
Absolutely. Every time I end up moving or cleaning a space and there's like books on the ground, comic books, or like I'm moving comic books around, that is the time where I will end up like spending hours just sitting on the ground looking at the art, because I'll be like, oh man, this book, I haven't thought about this book in a while, and you end up looking at the art for a while, and that's probably good.
Yeah, if you ever want to read any books or graphic novels or comics or anything, decide to organise your room. And you won't get anything done because you'll be like, I haven't read this in ages.
I've been cataloguing my collection since October. That's how bad it's got for me. I just keep reading everything.
So, Brendan, what have you got coming up? And I mean, obviously, there's Grendel, the continuing series, but anything else in the pipeline?
Well, unfortunately, I can't talk about this one book that I just started yet. But if you follow my social media and my just follow my Instagram. Really is the way to see, because I'll make announcements on anything that I'm working on.
Awesome.
Like I said,
can I recommend your website as well? It's a great website, man. Yeah, really good stuff on there. Yeah.
So that's BrennanWagnerArt.com. My Instagram is, I think it's the same. Hold on, let me make sure of that. Nice. Yep, the Instagram is Brennan Wagner Art as well, so pretty easy to find me. Simply Googling my name will make all these things come up. So, but other than that, I don't have anything else really coming up.
Do you think, like, obviously you've worked on quite a few sort of characters and names and stuff. Do you have any white whales that you want to harpoon in terms of characters, or is there something of yours, and you don't have to reveal it to us, but is there something of yours that you're thinking, one day I'm going to make that do that all myself?
Yeah, there's a thing that I've been talking to my dad about quite a bit, that would see me drawing and doing all the art for.
Awesome.
And it's a very cool concept, and I started some concept art on it recently. So early development stages for that, but that's something that I really want to get off the ground. It's just tough to find the time. Coloring is the kind of thing that when you fall into it, it's like golden shackles. The work keeps coming in, but you don't really want to turn it down because it's paid work. It's in comics. You're working with these cool people. But I'll figure it out. I'll find it.
Yeah.
Lately it's been tough because my girlfriend just moved here from New York to live with me. So, and I was trying to help her like get settled, and she just got a great job. And so it's like, there's been a bit of caretaking.
There's always life as well as comics. There is always life, and life doesn't stop for anything else. So and
it informs the art. Like we were talking about. It's important.
Yeah, totally. But I tell you what, this has been amazing, Brennan. This chat.
Really has.
Yeah, cheers, Brennan.
That has genuinely been brilliant. Genuinely, I really enjoy listening to you talk.
Yeah.
As somebody who's never coloured anything, that's put me straight. Genuinely. Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of our creator buddies out there and listeners out there who are colourists themselves that will get a lot from that. And once again, the comics, awesome.
Yeah, loving it.
Yeah, looking
absolutely loving it.
Yeah.
It's always been on my pull list. Yeah, always. Whenever it's come out. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Was it designed as 4 arcs? Just the last question. Was it designed as 4 arcs, or was it designed more as one book and then you chopped it into edible chunks?
It was originally 3, and Pop felt like he needed one more. So
yeah. Oh, what a legend! Yeah, we always need more. And you are welcome back at any time, my friend. It's been brilliant. Thank you very much for joining us, Brennan.
Sure, yeah, hit me up when maybe when another issue or two of this new project I was just talking about, when that comes out, maybe I'll come back on and talk about that.
Definitely.
Dude,
love that.
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
And welcome back. How good was that? Do you know what
yeah, it was good.
Just I mean, we've talked a little bit about colouring. We always love getting into that process, and it's fascinating seeing different colourists sort of process. But yeah, it's so fascinating listening to.
Fucking hell! Behind the scenes. He's just sent us that short comic he did. That's fucking amazing. I love that.
There you go, Brennan. Live and direct. Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Fucking hell.
So stay tuned, because hopefully we will. It won't be the last you hear from Brennan Wagner on this show.
Limited palette again. There you go. Yeah.
And just good comics. Just that's what it's like. The Devil's Crucible Sedition. That could quite easily be the recommend this week. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed reading that new issue. But a fascinating chat. So and we hope you enjoyed it, folks. And obviously, just keep the conversation going. Let us know what you thought about the colouring chat, and about that. I thought it was some fascinating insights there. Just gets you high, doesn't it? You get that little buzz. You get that little buzz when you're talking about comics like that.
When you talk to someone, they've got it all locked in. They know what they're doing. It's kind of like
genuinely learning loads there.
Yeah. And speaking of loads, hang on, that's a bit of a weird.
Here we go.
When you say something,
there's a big load of Rex to your face.
Pardon? It's not the Rex. It's the shout outs. Do we have any shout outs this week?
Yes.
I haven't got any this week.
Yeah, Dan, you
were recording earlier.
Yes. The Gods and Monsters of Headgrave, 120-page graphic conspiracy graphic novel. John Thomas and Chris Matthews. That's sailing towards its goal. Got another few more days on that by the time this podcast drops. Do go check that one out. My cursor's disappeared, which is handy. Zinezilla, Anspo Animation Festival Arts Fair, Comic Illustration Zine Market, Saturday 12th of September, Trinity Centre, Bristol, 11:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Go check that out. Zinezilla _Bristol. You might go along and check that out, Vince.
Yeah.
Did you say
yeah?
Sharp Book 2, Soul Wound by Pat Mills and Oliver LeDroit. Detective Duffy's search for the truth drives her deeper into the darkness of Heart of New Eden, but is she incriminating herself? That's yet to launch, but you can do the remind me when it launches thing, and you'll get an email. We've got Hellbound Media, Men of the Cloth. Story script by Paul Kane, art letters by James Gray. A folk horror graphic novel from award-winning creators Paul Kane and James Gray. That's nearly to its goal. Got another fair bit of time on that. Well, actually, better for you finger out and back that so we can get that over the line. And that's all from the award-winning Awesome Comics podcast.
Can I also say
That
people don't pay for those shout-outs. We just do.
No.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me this recently. How much? It doesn't cost anything. Just
Don't
let
cost
us know.
anything.
We'll do
Don't
it.
cost anything.
Yeah.
The thing that it costs is your time to let us know if you've got an event
Yeah, just
or
messages.
anything.
Yeah.
Like, this is like the Kickstarter, the comic events, anything, a charity fucking events. Please do let us know about stuff like that because we'll shout it out. And if it's going for a certain period of time, or if it hasn't happened yet, we will keep mentioning it every week until it happens. That's the way it works.
Yeah,
So,
we're not Uatu fucking watching over the earth, seeing all the comic events happening.
Yeah.
If you want some shout, please let me know.
My head's kind of
Yeah.
his size. I've got a big head.
And I often wear a nappy. So
yeah. And Tony.
Tony's got a toga on.
Tony
do let us
Toga,
know
that's what they
because-
call me.
Yeah.
Let us know. That's the best way.
Yeah.
Just DM any one of us to say, can you put this in
Yeah.
the shout-outs?
And just in case anyone listening to this needs any more confirmation, we don't make any money from this show.
Yes.
Yeah, zero.
We
Sponsor.
don't make any.
It costs
Sponsor.
us money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got to sell my body for that. Anyway, speaking of. Right.
I didn't realise the hosting fees were so low. The
Yeah. Well, I have to cut their receipts. Right. Anyway, let's recommend short, sharp, breezy, and just full of beans this week. But what we've got to recommend this week, Dan, you've been busy making all the comics in the world, so we understand you haven't had time to read anything.
I did start watching a Bruce exploitation film on Amazon called Blind Fisted Bruce, which was pretty funny.
Nice.
So go and check
Nice,
that out.
nice. I mean, whether that was a film or a comic, I think everyone just needs to.
How is his
Check
fists
that out.
blind?
He goes to a blind man to teach him.
Yeah,
kung
but
fu.
the blind fists. How are his fists blind? That's just badly worded, isn't it?
Yeah.
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 To be honest, the quality of those
Throughout.
films is quite low.
Yeah.
The renting isn't very good on those films.
Terrible renting on that,
terrible
yeah.
renting there. Anyway, Tony.
Okay, so I'm going to start on a manga. I haven't read any manga for a while. This got recommended to me by Jason Wood over at 11 O'Clock Comics. So I was having a chat with him about it. Billy Bat. Have you heard of this yet, by the way, guys?
No.
No? Very good.
looking
Naoki
forward to it now.
Urasawa and Takashi Nagasaki. Do you know who Naoki Urasawa is? He's done some other famous books.
What other books has he done?
So
Me?
Pluto, which is thank you for asking. Pluto is a reimagining of Tezuka's Astro Boy. It's going very
Oh,
smoothly.
okay.
He did 20th Century Boys and 20th.
Yeah, I do know
21st
that.
Century Boys. And Azadora, which is it's a very young girl. I don't know. I've seen it on the table. Gosh, that's all. Billy Bat ran from 2008 2016 in Japan. It's 20 Tankaban volumes. It's the concept is by Urasawa and his longtime collaborator Takashi Nagasaki, and it's set in, as a lot of these mangas are that I really enjoy, set in post-war Japan.
Yeah.
There's a real pervading sense of sadness and giving up and what's happened to us, in a country that we see as a very sort of positive, friendly, forward-thinking country now, but Japan was a sad and lonely place back then.
God, yeah.
Post the bomb. So that pernicious feeling of defeat really does. You feel that in what is like the second part of this book. I'm going to call it, and it walks into a sort of mysterious. It's like a thriller, really, but there's something else going on. I don't want to say it's quasi-religious, but it's mystical in some way. Or there's this mystery that is you feel like there's something more to it. So interestingly, when you start it, it opens on a colour story of Billy Bat, who is this
like
comic
that.
book character who looks a bit like Mickey Mouse, but with a bat head. That makes
It looks
sense.
like, is
Yeah.
it Felix the cat? Is that-
Oh yeah, a little
Yeah,
bit like that.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
got
yeah, I
that
get
sort
that,
of
yeah.
everything's sort of anthropomorphic, and
Yeah.
it's a noir thriller done in color. But what that is the comic that that is the Billy Bat comic that this bloke here is working on.
On the cover,
Right.
that's the figure
On the cover. Sorry, Kevin Yamagata, who's the artist and writer of the story. Yeah.
Right.
Now, so it bait and switches you. You read this thing, and I'm reading it. I didn't really know what to expect. I'm thinking this is a bit weird. It's like this comic. It's sort of weird. It's all color, and I'm thinking this is a bit weird. And then suddenly it goes screeches to a stop, and all you get is a panel of a hand drawing the black and white image, and he's someone. The artist is shouting, "You're the real criminal here," whilst Billy Bat points at him, and that's a little hint about what happens later. So. He's in his studio, cramped in this studio, and he's got an assistant in there, and he's under, manga writers and artists are under the cosh all the time, aren't they? They're constantly. We don't know what deadlines are like here. They're constant.
Yeah.
There's that famous Tezuka saying, "I think I might sleep now." That whatever that is,
Yeah.
So there's they're there, and suddenly there's a knock at the door, and it's the police, and they say. They sort of barge their way in, and they say, "Want to use your flat to watch the Russian spy in the flat opposite." And don't forget, this is a period of everyone's a communist and all this sort of thing. And he's like, "Fucking everyone's a spy apparently." And one of the detectives picks up the original artwork, and he's like, "Be careful with it. Be careful with it." And he says, "What's this? You draw comics?" And he's going, "Yeah, I do." And he says, "I've seen this before." And he's like, "What?" He says, "I've seen this. I saw this. This was done." And excuse my pejorative, I'm just repeating. This was done by a Jap, and he's a Japanese American, Kevin, and he starts getting paranoid, and he thinks because I think he was in the army over there, and post-war, and he keeps thinking, "Have I taken this from something that I've sort of subconsciously?"
Oh shit. Okay.
And he rings up his editor and he says, "I've got to go to Japan." And he says, "Yeah, but your comic's really popular at the moment. You're going exactly the wrong time." He says, "I've got to go there." And he goes there. And this story, the 20 volumes, is about him discovering what and where this image came from. And it's far from straightforward.
Right.
In it, he got at one point, I won't spoil it all. Well, I've only read the first volume, but he goes to an underpass. And there's this prostitute who plays into the story later. And she's sort of kneeling in front of an image of a very similar image to Billy Bat on the wall, on this underneath this flyover, and people are saying we come here to to feel better about our lives and this sort of thing. And there's an image of this bat-headed creature on the wall, and he wakes up at one point. There's been a murder. There's a story about the Prime Minister killing himself, and it really does throw itself into this really interesting story. It's really gripping. It's so well done. I'd put it's not realistic, and it's not the level of cartooning of, say, Tezuka. But it's somewhere between Ryoichi Ikigami from Crying Freeman and Tezuka. It's somewhere between the two. Wow. So it's not super realistic, and it's not and shaded, and it's not Tezuka simple, but cartooning. It's somewhere in the middle. And they nail it all. And it so sets you up. Every 10 pages, 20 pages, you get that little chapter break as you get in collected mangas that we see here. You get that little fuck me moment. It's really well done. I have to say, absolute breath.
That sounds great. That
really
sounds
good.
great.
Yeah, and it's one of those sort of smaller size mangas.
Nice. I really like the way that book looks. It just looks really nice.
The interior pages, they do that. We've talked about it before, haven't we? Where they mix the sort of realistic background with the cartoon.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah,
you love that, don't you, Dan? Yeah.
It's that fact of like you have a cartoony kind of looking sword, and then you'll do a close up, and the close up is so hyper detailed.
Yeah.
When you next see that sword again, but it's in the cartoony mode, it's got that detail if you brought it up close.
That's a good
It's
point.
a lovely little thing.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, man. Yeah. So, volume 1, or whatever you call it, manga 1 of Billy Bat. Yeah.
Nice.
Really
my
good.
recommendation this week is one that I haven't finished yet. I'm sort of just over halfway through. It is a book that came out in 2023. I don't know whether you might have read this, Tony. It's from Humanoids. This is The Twilight Man. Rod Serling and the Birth of Television.
Yeah, I have. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah.
I think I might have reviewed this maybe a few years ago.
Yeah, it's 2023.
From a digital version we got sent through.
Yeah.
Is it someone like Abrams or someone like that? I think.
Could be. I mean, it's on the Humanoids website if you want to get it. Get it hardcover or digital. By Corin Shadme, story and art. If you're not quite sure who this is, folks, and some people may not, this is a biographical tale that follows Hollywood revolutionary Rod Serling's rise to fame in the golden age of television and his descent into his own personal Twilight Zone. The man behind the Twilight Zone.
He was a complicated figure, wasn't he, as I remember?
Very much so. And this one, I mean, I was taken just by the cover anyway. I was thinking about sort of biographical comics, like things like this. We've done a few talks on them in the past, but possibly we should delve back into them again, because sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. Sometimes
there's so many of them about them.
Yeah, and they can be very dry. The conceit of this one, well, the way it's sort of framed, is there is a flight happening, and Rod Serling's sat next to. There's a female, and they're just having a long flight, so they're smoking and having a drink and stuff. And they've just sort of bumped into each other, and he says he works in television. He's a storyteller. She's like, "Oh, so tell me a story then. Who you are." And then it's a wonderful sort of mechanism to tell the story of who he is. And one of the reasons I read this is to know the show. I don't know the man. I know the name, but I don't know the man. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So he would introduce episodes as well, wasn't he? He was sort of very much the front man of it all. Yeah.
And I say I'm halfway through this because I've just got to the point. The Twilight Zone stuff is kind of just about to happen.
Oh, right.
But it's already, I'm already like 100 pages in of, I think it's about 160, 170
The series
pages.
he did after that was Night Gallery, off the top of my head. I think that might be the name of it, yeah.
But as it says in one of he was a sharply dressed, cigarette smoking tour guide of the Twilight Zone. But the entertainment business once regarded him as the angry young man of television, and
okay,
what I didn't expect with this, because I didn't know anything, so it's like, okay, let's find out more about this guy. And I think Twilight Zone, for a lot of people, know that more from its sort of legacy than you can find them online, and just so many classic episodes.
I think they're all on Prime, aren't they? Or is it the Outer Limits? I always get the two mixed up.
Maybe both,
but definitely the Outer Limits is definitely on Prime.
Right.
But what I didn't know is who was the man. And when I started, because sometimes when you start these biographies and you just sort of think, sometimes in part of my brain it's like, I want to get to the bit where the bit I'm interested, who they are, like comic book people. I want to know when they're comic book people talking to and it always surprises me how much I enjoy the journey of getting there. I mean, certainly, I've been listening to the Frank Miller book, and it's not immediate. It doesn't immediately start. I was making comics immediately.
Yeah, I was riding my bike in Vermont. It's like that, isn't it?
Well, and having no money. Do you know what I mean? And that. Yeah.
The old school creators when they're like they were fighting in Korean War. And then, how the fuck did he get around to making comics then? So you're in straight away.
There's a synchronicity.
Mizuki lost his arm. And had to learn to draw with the other arm.
Yeah. There's a synchronicity to what you said there, Dan, because Rod Serling was in the war. He wanted to be a paratrooper. He was too short for it. He was a short, sort of a Jewish boy. That sort of like brought up a lot the way he was seen and the way people were interacting with him. He wanted to do it so desperately. He just kept going and kept going and kept going until eventually he did. And I didn't expect, obviously the wartime bit where it both tells you, there was times we just did nothing. We were there for months just filling time, and then when they do see action, it's kind of horrific. I will give full props. I loved the art on this. It's like a lovely sort of it's black and white and sort of shaded. There's a lovely sort of line work to it that it's not graphic. There's a horrific moment that happens during the war when they're fighting the Japanese and stuff. And these are some of the things that he has night terrors for the rest of his life, even though the doctor said you'll get over them at some point. Yeah. So you see all these things and after he finishes the war. But they were in the jungle. His platoon were in the jungle for ages, and they're waiting for supplies to come down. And when these planes come over to drop these supplies, they're like, finally, we're going to have some food. And one of his platoon is like out there going, yes, he's dancing and sort of going, this is wonderful. And no word of a lie, one of the supply crates falls on him and kills him.
Oh,
and there's just a panel of his head rolling away. And you just think, Jesus. And, just hearing this sort of story of like, it was a senseless death. Do you know what I mean? And that how that affects him. And once he gets out and then he starts moving into, radio plays. He loved radio plays and then trying to write things for television. And of course, he's writing drama plays for television, as the onset of television comes on. And like, he was a big hit with his first one and then he's having trouble following it up. And there's this moment where he's trying to sell these things, and when the sort of, he's not the golden boy anymore and he's having trouble selling things. He goes, I'm trying to tell this story, and he's talking to one of his neighbours and he gets frustrated. He goes, if it would be the same thing, but I just said they were in space, he's on a different planet and they were aliens, maybe they'd probably listen then. And then he stops, and you can see that. I love that moment of like, that's when things start to change. So, and I know there's still a lot of way to go of this very complicated man, but it's just a really good comic book telling of this sort of biography. I find myself it's easy to read. It's
listen through it.
Yeah, and I didn't expect to be as invested as I was. So I'm going to finish it in the next couple of days. The reason why I say it's a work in progress is, I'm halfway through, is because we're recording this episode a little bit earlier. Otherwise, this would be done and dusted, and I'll be talking about the final bit of it. But I know it's been out, it's been out a few years. Like I say, if Tony recommended it once before, so I gladly echo that.
Yeah, I think someone else must have published it, man. Maybe they've reissued it or something like that.
Yeah, maybe they did.
Because it was a few years ago, because I remember learning all about Night Gallery, which I hadn't seen from it, and I remember that scene of him chatting the woman up on the plane. Definitely, yeah.
Because there's also like some color work that like the plane sort of bits have. It's still sort of like got that sort of two-tone, but they've got like a bluish hue to them.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And then when it cuts back to like his story, it's just straight up black and white. When the black and white feels like the black and white you see on the telly. Do you know what I mean? When you see those.
That's well done, yeah.
But there's also it's got that wonderful the big comic feel rather than graphic novel. The big comic feel of like those sort of storytelling, like when he's talking about his father sort of passing away. It's three panels, I think it's and it's just the top one is a plane. It's just three sort of widescreen panels.
Horizontal,
yeah. Top one's a plane. Second one's the drink. He's necking, and the second panel is just he died of a heart attack at the age of 53. And the third panel is him knocking back that drink. It's all sort of close up, but that does so much work. Do you know what I mean? Just that you don't.
There's a personality there, isn't there?
Yeah.
A self. Defeating personality almost. Yeah. I always think that I was reminded of there's do you remember that film Happiness? It's quite a dark film.
Yeah.
But early
quite
on in
dark.
early on in the film, his daughter tells the dad off. There's this sort of hard put upon dad. Don't have salt on your food; it'll kill you. And then an hour later, the family are all talking. The dad just picks up some salt and starts putting it on his food. And you think that says so much. I love that sort of thing.
Yeah. You don't always, it's in the things that people do, the actions that people do. It's not always what you say.
It's a lot to pick up sometimes. You don't always see it all.
Yeah. I was just very impressed by it. I also like the little points of it's separated into parts, which is also quite nice because I've kind of like read a part and then you can put it down, make a coffee, and then come back and then you start another part. But the chapter headers always have like a graphical element that's from a classic Twilight Zones.
Right, okay. I've forgotten that.
Yeah, I think part 3 has got, when they've got those sort of weird pig faces, the people have their face changes, and it's just one of those people. And you just look at it and go, I know that, and you realise how classic these things were. So the Twilight Man, you can get it currently from Humanoids. Some of you may have already read it. Please let us know. But full props. I mean, it's also one of those, but I like the telling so much. I'm interested to see if the creator's done any other sort of stuff because it's real.
They have.
Yeah. Real good stuff. Tony, have you got another one?
Yeah, very short one. So this is Degard, Daegard, Degard, Made from Sin. It's written by Kathy Irving, who kindly sent it in to us. She's also a listener. Hello, Kathy. Ricardo Jaime is the illustrator. Javier Mina is the colorist. Rob Jones is the letterer, and it's from Centauri Games. It's a sci-fi fantasy comic that is part of a much bigger world. The cover by Jaime and the interiors actually really gave me a cross-gen feel, which is a fucking
Nice.
Chef's kiss for me.
Big plus, yeah.
And for us, yeah. It shows a man with sort of gargoyle-style wings and a fang creature behind him, and a sort of an attractive red head to his side, and just that's that classic fantasy, sci-fi thing that CrossGen did so well. Lovely little design, very slick comic. I have to tell you, very slick. It tells the story of a child who's taken from the clutches of death. There's a battle going on, a war going on, and his mother, who's about to be killed, rather than having been killed with him and him being killed at the same time, hands him over to this gargoyle creature, who takes him away to his world, and the world's called Chimera. And the child is gifted with wings, and he becomes quite a solid warrior on the planet. Where he uses blasters, and then you get a bit of a sort of montage of origin, and then he's dropped into this adventure, and then it sort of shifts all over the place, all within the single issue so far. I think it came out at the end of last year. Kat was saying, and they go to the pub as well. So there you go. Just quickly run through a couple of thoughts on it. I would say the art reminds me of someone like Paul Pelletier, if you remember him. Jim Calafiore, maybe Mike McCone, that sort of little area. Lovely, good colour work, solid face work, solid acting. They pull off a couple of montage images, and they pull off a couple of sort of single image splash pages and stuff like that. I would say the only thing I found with it has a strange narration. I found it a little bit overwritten. I think that's the wrong thing to say. I think begin to just shift in your head, show, don't tell. I think when a panel is repeating what's going on in the panel, in the art, I think
when
you
the
need
text,
to text is just saying what's happening, then I think have a reconsider of it. The opening line, this is maybe where I got confused. The opening line was flying faster, a stork like carrier coming through to rescue me from the fate that I made from sin. And I thought that really is a strange paragraph or sentence, because it wasn't a stork. It wasn't even stork-like. It was this gargoyle creature. So the hidden storyteller needs to take a step back, I would say. I think look at when it's needed and look at when it's not needed. And I think if it's showing you, Mike Barron always says this, doesn't he? He says, if it's showing you, you don't need to tell them. If there's something it's not showing you, it should be.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
sometimes
almost
you've
like
spoken about that, T, when you've written a panel and then you've removed the text because what the artist has done no longer necessitates your text.
And as you learn to trust the artist, you know he'll carry it out.
Yeah.
So you almost go into it like that. But I have to say, pretty fucking slick comic, man.
Nice.
It'll appeal to comics and sci-fi. It's that really good sci-fi channel TV series. I'll put it that way.
Nice.
With a lot of I hate the phrase, but a lot of world building going on. That I think will pay off in later issues. But go to, I think I'll put the website somewhere. No, Centauri Games, which is Centauri. Look up Centauri
I'm going to
Games
check this out. Sounds
online,
great.
and you'll find it. And thanks to Kat for sending it through. I love getting stuff like this.
Cheers, Kat.
So good. I remember looking at it and thinking, right, this is going on the next show, because the cover was just great.
The business.
Nice.
There you go.
Nice.
Okay.
And there you
So
go.
it's good trying to pick up tips for trying to be a rinter. Like, pick them up where you can get them.
Yeah, well, good a bit of renting.
Rin Tin Tin. Thank you very much for listening to the show, everyone. We hope you've enjoyed this one. We enjoyed it, talking about comics and making comics, and our wonderful guest, and everything we've talked about in this week's show. And please let us know if there's any particular subjects, or if you've got a comic you'd like us to check out, or an event you'd like to recommend. we will shout out and we will have a look at it. And there's several different ways you can get in touch with us. You can email us awesomecomicspod@gmail.com. Follow us on social media @awesomecomicspod on Insta, @theawesomepod on X. Where did you hear us? Perhaps it was on the Podbean app or www.awesomecomics.podbean.com. Perhaps it was on Apple Podcasts. Then give us 5 stars and say you love us, like we're family. I mean, if you've gotten this far, you must like us. So go on, be a love. Go on, be a love. Go on, be your best friend.
Another hate
I don't
listen.
think we've had any for a while, have we?
No. Yeah, and we're white men making a podcast on the internet, so we clearly need attention. So, so please, 5 stars, please. Likewise, if you heard us on Spotify or Amazon, Stitcher, Podnose, Podknife, what are the networks are we on, Tony?
We're on the network. Someone drew a forehead on my penis.
That's, wow. Was it a big forehead?
If it was Tony, it'd be a 5 head. Easy.
Wow. Girth. Anyway, and perhaps you listen to us on Substack. Thank you to everyone that's joined the Awesome Comics journey on there. If you haven't or you would like to join us on Substack, search for the Awesome Comics Podcast on Substack, where we'll post up artwork. Dan usually does some sort of... They're getting more and more offensive, it seems, a subtitle to every single episode we're doing. And links to what we talk about on a weekly basis.
Just trying to get our algorithm to fit the listenership. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Really? People like that stuff.
Is that why it's on X-Hamster?
Yeah.
I've not tried that, but I'm happy to
look, come on. Look, hang on. Let's talk about this. Slow down, guys. Slow down.
Yeah. Right, Pornhub.
Yeah.
Watch 3 guys fuck up an entire show.
Could have been worse. You could have left out the word up.
Audio wanking.
If you could be part of the Slack community, and then get in touch with us. Join that wonderful community of people that talk about the show, talk about making comics, talk about reading comics. It's all just comics love on there, so that's brilliant.
Don't matter if you're an artist, like
reader,
colorist, renter.
We're all just readers, aren't we? Yeah, renters.
Yeah. And you can, if you want to support the show, get some merch from acpgear.redbubble.com. It really does.
It would be very nice.
It helps us, and we really do appreciate it, and we really appreciate everyone who listens to the show.
I feel a t-shirt coming on, Dan.
We can. Oh, God, I'm just seeing Dan just laugh.
Just took myself.
Yeah. Where can people find us online, etc.? Tony
Ez, EZ on Substack. Every Monday or Tuesday I put out tops and bottoms, my favourites and least favourites of the week.
Yeah, nice. Great read. Love it.
Thank you, mate. Nice. Cheers.
Dan.
Find me on X @Vanguard Comic, and you can read Vanguard at VanguardComic.com.
Just to let you know, listeners, he does the CM Punk sort of X. Yeah. And it gets me every time.
I've got to update this on the Kickstarter, but Vipers with a proofreader now.
Nice.
So, and follow Dan on Patreon as well, because you see loads.
So I'm going to get the old red pen out, and
she's a great proofreader, man.
Yeah.
She's really good.
Really good.
Yeah.
She's done a couple of mine too.
Yeah. She clearly has been traumatized.
So many
I
times.
did apologise afterwards. There's times where she just come back and like Dan with a question mark or an exclamation mark where I put something really dubious. It's like
yeah.
She's such a nice lady.
Yeah. You kind of it's like getting your homework back from like your teacher at school. And they're like, what's this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant. That's what's having a good editor. That's what it's all about. And you can find me on social media, just at Diablo. Join us back here, same bat time, same bat channel, for more comic book chat from everyone here at ACP Towers. Have a brilliant week. Keep reading comics. Keep just
making comics.
Pick up some legacy characters that you like and just reread them again. God knows there's loads of joy of an omnibus now. They're flipping everywhere, and there's loads of comics you can read. And join us back here where, well, who knows what we'll be doing, which is why you need to check it out. So, they've got to read comics and they've got to make comics. What's the other thing they've got to do, guys?
Stay awesome.
Stay awesome.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.